bets you make. We'll be back Monday at 11 o'clock. Check us out on SportsGrid, on Spotify, and everywhere in the world.
Ashton Genty, between yards and yards before contact and yards after contact, all these sorts of, they're giving him nothing. He is getting hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage, multiple yards behind the line of scrimmage, and frankly, at this point, I think he's essentially out of the race, and this is partly due to Emeka Egbuka having a great year, Tyler Warren putting up big numbers, Tet McMillan, I think, is maybe the most talented player overall in the rookie class.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The leader right now in the clubhouse in the odds market is Fernando Mendoza. College football purists, yep, absolutely know that guy. Fantastic. He's a great quarterback. Non-purists who are tuning in just for the biggest games, who is this guy, Joe, and how did he get here?
Well, he came from Cal. He's a mobile kid. He's big. He's about 6'3", about 220. He's a gutty kid and had a great performance for Kirk Cignetti.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
We're in a weird place with Trevor Lawrence. This was another one of these quote-unquote can't-miss generational quarterback prospects, right? Everybody was salivating over when he was a freshman winning national championships. And here we are, about 5 years later, looking at ourselves going, is it just time for Trevor Lawrence to get a change of venue or something? Like, what's got to give here? Hopefully this Liam Cohen offense starts to come together.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
No unrivaled for Caitlin Clark, plus TBS baseball announcer Brian Anderson previews the MLB divisional round. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Front Office Sports Today from FOS Studios here in New York City. I'm Baker Machado.
And I'm Dan Roberts, in for Renee. Thanks for joining us. Every day here, we talk about the biggest stories at the intersection of sports, business, and culture. Later on the show, we've got Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love. But let's dive in first to the shoot-around.
Yes, good to see you, Dan. And let's start in the WNBA, where after her last season was cut short due to injury, multiple sources are telling our Annie Constable that Caitlin Clark will not play in the 3-on-3 Unrivaled League this winter. Now, Unrivaled had courted Clark since its launch, and with its recent expansion to 8 teams and 48 players, speculation centered on if Clark and WNBA MVP A'ja Wilson would join. Now, Clark, meanwhile, in her end-of-the-year media day with reporters, finally commented on Nafisa Collier's claims of leadership issues at the WNBA. She said, quote, "I have great respect for Fee, and I think she made a lot of very valid points," Dan.
Not just very valid points, and that was a very prepared, tight, careful comment. But some people out there, not even probably conspiracy theorists, are pretty sure that Caitlin Clark was likely tipped about Nafisa Collier's comments.
They have the same agent.
Those were said at Caitlin's awareness. As for Unrivaled, not a huge shock, but a big scoop for us because a lot of people did think that, well, look, maybe this is when they finally get her because of all that's in the water with the criticisms of leadership, the criticisms of Engelbert. Remember that Nafisa Collier is the founder of Unrivaled, so the comments come amid that context. And last year, we know that she was offered a big deal by Unrivaled that supposedly, according to sources of Mike McCarthy, included some type of Messi-like revenue share from the media deal, but Caitlin not doing it. She said also at that press conference she's focused on USA basketball, which means 5-on-5 basketball.
Yeah, exactly. That, of course, is what she's going to be focusing on before the WNBA season, if we even get one, because of the CBA agreement that expires at the end of this month. Meanwhile, Front Office Sports has also learned Grand Slam track has narrowly avoided collapse. That is, the Startup Running League received emergency financing from existing investors. This to pay back some of its $19 million in debts to athletes and vendors. Now, the emergency funding is not enough to cover all the league's debts, but they are preparing to only make partial or half payments starting this week, Dan.
Yeah, some of these athletes have already gotten paid. We added that to our story. They got paid this morning, so surprise. It is good to see them finally get paid again. Pretty bad that these athletes who, again, already performed in these meets earlier in the year hadn't been paid yet.
Right.
great to see the company get a lifeline because we hope that they'll be back in 2026 with more events. But let's also remember, like, they still have more debt to pay off. So they've got to get more money just to pay the rest of their debts. Then they'll have to get more money if they want to actually continue as a going concern in 2026.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, another big legal win for John Gruden after the Nevada Supreme Court unanimously rejected the NFL's attempt to avoid a public trial with the former head coach. Gruden sued the league and Commissioner Roger Goodell back in 2021, claiming that there was a malicious and orchestrated campaign to destroy his career, this by leaking old emails that included offensive language that all forced him to resign as head coach of the Raiders. Now, no word if the NFL plans to appeal this stand to the U.S. Supreme Court if it does get there.
Well, if you're the NFL, you do not want a public trial here. You know, so maybe it ends in a settlement, although does that acknowledge some type of guilt or validate what Gruden said? By the way, the main comment that came out from this email about DeMaurice Smith really, really hurt his reputation in the court of public opinion.
Right, you're talking about Gruden.
Yeah, and he's trying to claw back something here. I don't know if we'll see him coach again. Anyone who follows the NFL remembers the comment, and it's hard to expunge that. In other words, even if he says, okay, there was a campaign, he said it. He said that in an email. And I think a lot of people, that's all they kind of need to hear.
Right, and the big question for the NFL is if, let's just say the Supreme Court doesn't pick up this case, then you're sort of picking two options, which is you either have this public trial, which you're exposed to discovery, all these other emails and all these other things, which it sounds like Gruden wants, or you settle with him out.
Yeah, I don't know. Hard to see Gruden being the head coach of a team again.
All right, well, the divisional round of the Major League Baseball playoffs are all set after 3 deciding Game 3s went down to the wire. The Yankees, Cubs, Tigers, and Dodgers now will all meet baseball's top seeds. I'm sorry, Dan, for your Red Sox. In what has been a pretty remarkable 2025 for Major League Baseball and Commissioner Rob Manfred. So let's take a look at this and more in today's main event. All right, let's bring in one of the voices of the divisional series, announcer for Major League Baseball on TBS, the great Brian Anderson. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Before we talk about some of the divisional series, especially the one that you're going to be doing, which is the Dodgers and the Phillies, what do you think of how this wild card sort of shaped up? I mean, we had 3 of the 4 games go to a deciding winner winner go home Game 3.
Yeah, no, it was a great lead-in, great setup for the division series, and obviously with the Yankees coming back to win a first ever, you know, to come back. Usually when you lose that first game, you cough it up and you don't advance. So that was new for all of us too. But the games were great. I think baseball's in a really healthy position. We've been saying that all year. There's a lot of competitive balance, even though the payrolls don't quite match with a lot of these teams. And the wild card series kind of proved that out. So it's now you're into a 5-game series. So it's a little less of a sprint, but you can do some things roster-wise that are going to change the look and dynamic than what we saw in the 3-game sprint of the wild card series.
Yeah, Brian, I actually wanted to ask about that 3-game sprint because it's only been, I guess, 3 seasons that it's been this new wild card format of 3 games all hosted by one team. I mean, as a Red Sox fan, I was sort of sad to discover that all 3 games would be at Yankee Stadium.
And you couldn't even buy the tickets, by the way.
Don't get me started on that. But, you know, when we briefly did just the one do-or-die game, I mean, do you think this format is clearly better?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say clearly better. I actually really liked the 1-game wild card play-in. I thought that gave us, and we used to have that game at TBS, so maybe I'm a little biased there, but it rolled us right into an instant winner go home, do or die, Game 7 vibe. So I do kind of miss that. I understand why baseball made that move. You wanted to at least have something of a series. A 3-game series is very normal for what you see in the regular season. That's a pretty common occurrence to have a 3-game series. And then it does give you a little chance at some runway if you lose the first game. So I understand why they did it. It obviously added that extra team. So now there's 6 teams in each league. Ultimately, I would probably like to see that, in my opinion, I'd rather see that be a 1-game play-in, but a 7-game division series. But that's like, whatever, I'm just one guy in a car on I-94 right now. So I actually liked the newsiness of starting the postseason with these 1-game wild card play-ins. I love that format. I thought it also protected the division winners. I don't think we're going back to that because they're not gonna have less teams, fewer teams in the postseason now that there's 6. You know, the home team doesn't always have success in the wild cards either. It's a lot of pressure on the home team, as the Brewers can attest. the last 2 years, they've lost the wild card.
Well, let's talk about that, because I mentioned, obviously, you're going to be doing the Phillies and the Dodgers game, but your other day job is doing the Brewers games. Now that they're the number one seed, can you give us some insight into what this team is going to be like in the postseason, and how would you sort of summarize how they've become so good?
Yeah, well, the first question is, I have no idea. I think that's the major question, is what are they going to be like in the postseason? There's a lot of guys who haven't competed in the postseason, and another majority of guys have only been in the postseason 1 year, and it didn't go well last year for a lot of those second and third year players. So that's a huge question mark, and you're hoping that talent overrides. I think they're probably I would say a little underrated, but also I can understand why they're underrated, because there's a lot of, you're gonna have to do your homework, especially guys like you who, aren't dialing into the Brewers every day, because there's a lot of names on that list. Pat Murphy calls them the average Joes. These aren't guys that you may get fined if you took this lineup to a spring training game because you didn't have enough stars. But that's kind of what they are. Really, they're a great defensive team, and they pitch the lights out.
Brian, before we let you go, prediction for Dodgers Phillies, and then can we get the World Series prediction?
There's no way I'm predicting that. I have no idea who's coming out of that. It's what a series. I mean, you've got some of the biggest names in the game, some of the biggest stars in the game, the biggest payrolls. I mean, it is all good. Like, there's no way I'm predicting that. I learned my lesson.
Yeah, and you get Shohei Ohtani pitching the very first game of this series. It's going to be amazing, and we're going to be watching all of it.
And leading off.
Yes, and leading off, yes, which is going to be so bananas to see this. We can watch it all, of course, on TBS with the great Brian Anderson. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. And coming up next, everyone, Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love tells us if he thinks the Irish should move to the Big Ten. That's next.
Now let's get to a player who was taken in the first round of every fantasy football draft, and thus far has produced the least points, George. I mean, I thought you'd just take a rookie running back in the first round and you get yourself 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. But Boise State's Ashton Jeanty for the Las Vegas Raiders, we got out of excuses, right? Like, at this point, it's, they got to give him the ball more, they got to do this, they got to do that. I mean, George, does this guy look like Barry Sanders? Like, that was the comparisons? Like, I haven't seen any of that yet.
Our panicometer, all right, doesn't go high enough here. All right, because this is, I mean, come on, we're freaking out here. I don't think it's all Jeanty, by the way. He has more yards after contact than before contact. That pretty much lets you know what the problem is there. All right, the Raiders needed a running back, sure, but they need an offensive line. All right, they need a couple of offensive linemen. It's not something you can fix in one off season here. So yeah, we're gonna eat it with Jeanty. He's not gonna be worth the first round pick in fantasy. It's just not this year. In future years we'll see here, but not this year. The offensive line is not very good. The defense is not very good, so they have to throw the ball more in the second half. They're trailing every game, so that's hurting us as well here. So yeah, like I said, the panicometer, it doesn't go high enough for this. Okay, I am more than concerned. I am not calm. I am critical. I am flipping out.
Isn't there going to be a time where he just breaks it free? George, like, what you said is not false, but I think there's a point being missed here. Why has he not broken free one time the whole season? Not once, to just run away. Like, he's Devin Singletary right now. No offense to Devin Singletary, but that's who he is.
Fantasy Sports Today, Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today. And earlier, Renee Washington and I got the chance to speak to Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love all about the current college football playoff format and so much more. Take a look. Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today with Renee Washington and Baker Machado. Well, after starting the season off 0-2, one of the hottest teams in college football right now is Notre Dame, whose offense has received a major spark from junior running back Jeremiah Love, who, of course, joins us right now here on the show. Jeremiah, such a pleasure to have you here. We'll talk about Notre Dame and a lot of other things here in just a moment, but let's start off with your partnership that you have with Samsung. What can you tell us about that?
I would say, first off, I'm proud of being a part of, Team Galaxy. Samsung is, entering the space of, athletes, and I feel like they're, taking a unique approach to it. They're giving me all the tools on and off the field, and I'm hoping to, just grow in our partnership.
And I'm curious, Jeremiah, given that you're part of Team Galaxy, but looking at all of the opportunities you have in NIL, do you have a philosophy or something you look for when you're exploring potential partnerships and NIL deals?
I just say when it comes to NIL, I like to try and connect it to myself. Like I want to do things that make sense. Like I love comics, I love anime and stuff like that. So if there comes like an NIL deal with something in that realm, like I'll look into it more. But I try not to focus on, NIL deals and, things of that nature. My team kind of just brings stuff to me. I'm partnered with Athletes First, so they bring deals to me and just explain things. And if I like it, then I'll pursue that. But I just look for things that make sense, things that I like.
I love the fact that you've been able to establish this partnership with Samsung that goes back to even your childhood, as you mentioned, with your parents, and to be a part of a team that aligns with who you are. And obviously, you're a part of another team that aligns a lot with who you are in Notre Dame. I'm curious because I read comments about your coach Freeman mentioning how he understands guys will get paid, but he wants them to focus. He doesn't want that to be the main factor in decisions. What's that locker room like for you guys to be football first and not get caught up in all the extra? Because I feel like it's so easy to get distracted in this NIL era or around transfer portal and so many other components.
I would say it just helps, us to have a positive environment. Like there's nobody on the team that's, focused on the things that don't really matter. Because at the end of the day, if you do the things that you need to do on the field, all that other stuff will come. And I live by that, and everybody on the team lives by that. And it just helps us, have a positive environment, an environment of, pushing each other to be better every single day on the things that matter. The things that matter to us is obviously football, but, also, the classroom and things like that. But, if you do the things that you got to do on the field, all that other stuff will come later. Coach Freeman preaches that, and I really believe that myself.
Obviously, everybody is always surprised at how great Notre Dame is as an independent team, not being part of any conference out there. But there's always a lot of chatter about if you see the Big Ten or the SEC maybe adding teams. Notre Dame obviously is at the top of the list. Having played for Notre Dame in their independent status, do you think Notre Dame needs to join any of these big conferences, or are you guys just good the way you are?
I would say no. I've always liked that, aspect of Notre Dame. They don't, feel the need to, be a part of any conference. Like Notre Dame football is Notre Dame football. And, we create things for ourselves. And I really like that, just that mindset. I feel like it's very unique. Not a lot of teams, take that approach. And Notre Dame is one of the teams that do. And, I'm just glad to be a part of this, this program. And I just feel like I'm part of something that's bigger than myself because, just different. That goes into, my partnerships, like I'm partnered with Samsung. I feel like they're different from everybody else. I feel like they're unique. I feel like they are themselves. And, that's just who I try to surround myself with, people that think differently than others. And Notre Dame is one of those programs.
Yeah, it's great to hear just how you talk about this partnership and about Notre Dame because, the way you're so articulate, calm, cool, collected, off the field, and then a complete top talented, one of the best running backs, one of the best prospects even going into the 2026 draft, if that's the direction you so to choose. I think it's telling that you can be both. And I'm curious your thoughts. Obviously, right now you're focused on the season, but how running backs in general, when you look at the Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley's, Christian McCaffrey's, have helped inspire you in terms of continuing to achieve those next goals that you have in your career?
When I look at those guys, like Saquon and Derrick Henry and, Jahmyr Gibbs, when I look at those types of guys, having success at the level that they're having success, it just inspires me to do the best that I can every single day so that, one day I can, reach that level. Hopefully, this season goes the way that I want it to. And down the line, I have that opportunity to, declare for the draft. Not thinking about that right now. Obviously, focus on the season.
Obviously.
But seeing those guys, do the things that they do on the field, and then seeing some of the stuff that they do off the field, just inspires me to be a better person. It was a little bit ago where I think Jahmyr Gibbs held a little camp or whatever over the off season. Just finding ways to be impactful off the field. That inspires me as well. And just seeing those guys do the thing they love, but also helping the community, that just sparks something in me to be better. And hopefully that I can reach their level and then go on and do great things like they're doing.
I love that.
Yeah, Jeremiah, we saw how great Notre Dame was in the college football playoff last year. Obviously, 12 teams are going to be in it this year, but there's always chatter about adding more down the road. As somebody who's played in this before, what do you think the current amount of teams should be? Should it be the current 12, or would you like to see more teams get added into there?
I say that, I'm cool with the current 12. I feel like 12 is a great number. Teams that may not have had a chance to, get into the playoffs when there were just 4 teams now have the chance to, be, playoff contenders and national championship contenders. They have, that opportunity, that they didn't have, in the past. So I'm cool with how, playoffs is now. I feel like it doesn't need to be increased or decreased. I feel like it should just stay how it is. Because I feel like, more teams have that opportunity to, just do what they need to do in order to have success. But yeah.
Yeah, I imagine, especially physically as a player, that's definitely something. There is such thing possibly as too many teams in the playoffs.
Well, we know at least we'll probably likely be seeing you in that playoff hopefully this year. Jeremiah, such a pleasure to have you here. Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Lev, thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, we got a lot more Front Office Sports today headed your way right after this quick break.
Well, Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there's some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. That's you're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. It's to the point where Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in,
right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's guys, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today. Well, earlier, Renee and I got the chance to preview tonight's big WNBA Finals with basketball analyst Trista Crick. Take a look at this. All right, welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today with Renee Washington. I'm Baker Machado. Well, the WNBA Finals are all set as the Vegas Aces are in the championship round for the third time now in 4 years. They're taking on the Phoenix Mercury. Yet with an uncertain CBA negotiation coming up and Nafisa Collier basically torching the league and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, there's a lot going on in the W. So let's bring in the co-founder of the Daily W, that's a women's sports media platform, as well as the Let Her Shoot podcast as well, Trista Crick. Trista, good to have you here. Thank you so very much for joining us. So what are you watching for in this big game one here that we got coming up?
I think in terms of what I'm watching for, it's really about how Vegas for me is going to be able to defend the Mercury. I don't understand actually why the Aces are favored in this matchup at all. The physicality that you saw from the Fever and the three-point shooting that they had as well that made life very difficult for the Aces, all that exists and more, and in spades for the Phoenix Mercury. They are a super team that really nobody has been talking about all year because of the inconsistency and because of the injuries that they had. This is going to be something that I'm watching for the whole time, is how are the Aces going to be able to stop the Mercury, because I don't think they're going to be able to outshoot them. Asia and Jackie Young have pretty much been all of the production for the entire year for the Aces. So I think you're going to need like 65, 70 points from both of them together in order if you're going to get into a shooting match. And I don't know if that's sustainable. So how are you going to make things tough on Phoenix? And how long is this series going to go?
How timely is it that the W rolled out this best-of-7 finals this season, given all that's going on across the league right now?
No, it's tremendous. I think the thing that's next is getting a best-of-5 or maybe a best-of-7 throughout the whole playoffs. I think we all kind of want to see more basketball. I think the appetite is there. And I think a best-of-3 is very chaotic. Anything can happen. If you're a road team and you win game 1, oh my goodness, all of a sudden now you can knock somebody out. So I can't wait to see what the league does moving forward, but I would say credit to them for listening to us and kind of making a response fast.
Well, since Nafisa Collier's comments early in this week regarding the WNBA, the leadership, officiating, salary, a lot of different components, we've heard the WNBPA come out with a statement supporting her. Several players have come out supporting her, including Breanna Stewart, Sophie Cunningham, Angel Reese, the list goes on and on of players. And even Kelsey Mitchell saying herself when asked about free agency, saying, I just hope, she said, quote, I hope we have a league. How much does this finals, in terms of the excitement, the generation that it's going to generate, help to further support the players' arguments and the coaches' arguments against the league needing to make changes?
I think the league is very set in their ways. I think the revenue share is going to be the crucial component for what the players want. You know, they want something close to what the NBA is getting in terms of just percentage splits. And I think that's the biggest sticking point, is that the league offered the players a higher minimum salary, but that doesn't come close to what that percentage would look like mathematically if you ended up sort of trickling that down. I think, honestly, and I've been saying this for months, probably 6-7 months now, I think we're headed for at least a short-term lockout. They'll get it done, but I think it's going to go right under the radar in terms of like, oh no, we are in a real warning sign of maybe missing part of the season.
Trista, great to have you here. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler. Well, Dan, it's back from the dead. After shutting down the network in 2021, NBC announced that they're bringing back NBC Sports Network. This after NBC struck a last-minute carriage agreement to stay on YouTube TV. Now, NBC Sports Network originally launched back in 2012, and the relaunched channel will likely carry some of Peacock's exclusive live sports programming. So what do you think? What's old is new again?
What's old is new again, and nothing's ever dead in this crazy mixed-up sports media world due to rights and broadcast agreements and splits and combinations, because Versant is coming at the start of 2026, and that spinoff is also going to result in USA Network being separate and Golf Channel being separate. We just reported earlier this week that USA Network is going to get some WNBA games, playoff games, and even WNBA Finals games.
50 games.
And it's unclear how the streaming will work with that. So there's a whole mess of this, and it just makes sense that this brings back NBCSN, as it was called. My wife worked at CBS Sports Network long ago. Those two have some parallels. You know, people feel like, well, we're sort of over here. We're the cousin of the main, right? But there's often important games that go on these networks. And I remember when people lost their jobs because of the shutting down of NBC Sports Network. So it is nice to wonder, will this mean jobs for sports media people?
Well, you would really hope so. We would absolutely take them. But I do think it's really interesting that it's now they can actually make money off of this thing because of the carriage agreements that they can sort of get with all of this. Maybe. You would think so.
I don't trust anything to necessarily last forever anymore. But
That's true.
It'll be nice to see it come back.
What is lasting for at least a while is our show. We'll be back on Monday. Have a good rest of your weekend, everyone. We'll see you later.